they came close at one point to dealing Josh Uche to Seattle. I think a player would have come back in that deal.
Well, that's a good Pete pickup there.
Yeah, so and I think one thing that complicated things for Seattle a little bit was they had one of their edge rushers in Wosu got hurt, and so I think there would have been an edge rusher coming back in the deal, and that it would have been complicated for Seattle because now you're losing in Wosu, and you're having another guy go out the door, and now you're trying to teach a new guy how to play. So it was complicated that way.
Why were they trying to trade for a player?
I think the pick might have come back with him.
Okay.
A pick might have come back with him too.
Pick and a player.
Yeah. So I think ultimately what this boiled down to, in the end was just the value out there wasn't where they needed it to be. And I don't know if they were going to move people for 5th and 6th and 7th round picks. Now, here's my argument against that. I believe right now, you can look this up, I believe they have 7 picks in next year's draft, right? Okay, so they have 1 in each round. I think they traded 1 out, and then they traded 4-1. So I think they wind up with an even 7. I think there's 1 in each round. I think that's it. They're not going to get any comp picks as it stands right now.
Doesn't feel like a lot.
They have, it appears they have.
Yeah, so 1 went away and 1 came.
Okay.
I think one was traded away and the other one was traded for.
Got it.
So, here's where I think the 3rd and 4th and 5th and 6th round picks matter. All right. So let's say there's a receiver or a tackle or a quarterback that you really like and you're picking 7th. All right. And now you want to move up. And the price to move up 2 spots is a 3rd and a 5th. Okay. So if you trade up then, now what you're doing is now you're going to have a 5-man draft class, right? Because now you're taking those 2 picks out, and now all of a sudden it's okay, we did what we needed to do to move up, but those back-end players we could have had are not there.
Or you do it in a future year, and you're still in the next couple of years, you run into the same problem.
But the team you're dealing with bad teams at the top of the draft, so there might be a coach in charge who's afraid that he's going to never be able to use that pick anyway.
Right.
So he's going to say, no, I want picks now, right? So, that's the thing. That's the thing to me is, if you're looking to rebuild, where having those extra back-end picks helps is it allows you to move around and keep your draft class full. That's what Howie Roseman in Philly is a master of. They go into the draft with 10, 12 picks every year. It's oh, yeah, if we move around, we're still going to have 9 guys or 8 guys.
I don't even think of it as being as something as dramatic as you say in the top 10. What about at the top of the 2nd round? You want to target a guy who you're going to move up a few spots to get.
Right. Now you're – right.
Hey, I need a 4th for that. Well, great, because I just unloaded a bunch of players at the deadline, and I have 4ths. Have one. And here it is.
And so here, to me, what are you giving up to maintain to get that flexibility, right? In this case, you're giving up 10 players in 10 games of a player in a season that doesn't matter. You're giving up for you to get that extra flexibility. In other words, you're giving up 10 games of Josh Uche, who's probably not going to be back here next year anyway. Is it worth it?
No. If you're not re-signing the player, which brings us to that next point.
It is worth it. It is worth it to give up Uche.
We're saying the same thing. Yeah, sorry, I'm answering that in the reverse.
All good.
Yeah, no, it's not worth it to keep him is what I'm saying. No, it's not worth the 10 games. I don't need the 10 games from Josh Uche. I need the pick. That's what I want for more future talent.
Right.
And so is there now more pressure to sign these players? Should it be mandated now? You didn't trade these guys. They've got to stay. You've got to keep good young talent on your roster.
Yeah.
That you've drafted and you've developed.
And that's the whole thing. So it's you can sit here and say, well, I wouldn't trade Josh Uche for a 5. Yeah. But that 5 gives you extra flexibility in the draft. That 5 gives you the ability to move around and still maintain a workable draft class, to still get 7 or 8 guys in here, right? And that becomes it complicates things when you don't have the extra capital. And I think that
even if you just have an extra 5th round pick,
it's
not a terrible thing to say, hey, we're going to try and find a talent here. We're going to try and find some depth here.
I agree with that. And there's 7 picks there, and it just doesn't seem like a lot if you're going to be in the rebuilding phase. The problem is here locally. Fans look at it as when you say 5th round pick, they look at Josh Uche as this type of player. Wait a minute, we've seen your 5th round picks before that end up being cuts or busts.
Right.
That's the equation. But I know it's not us, but
if you hit those, though, what we're talking about, even if the guy's
the element type player.
But But like, look at what you're trading though. Okay, like if you do hit, you have 4 years for the guy.
Yeah.
What you're trading away is 10 games of Josh Uche.
4 years.
I get that.
You know, you're
Hardy raised a point earlier this week that had they done this where they traded off the pieces that were expiring deals, it would have signaled that Bill is done.